Nobody can make that shot. Commander Jalen Core didn't whisper it. He declared it like a law of physics. But the woman lying motionless beside him, she was here to rewrite laws. Before we begin, where in the world are you watching from? Her name officially was Sergeant Kaela Renner. Army sniper, temporarily attached to SEAL Ghost Viper unit. But that was a cover to the team. She was just the quiet tag-along with an oversized rifle and a 1,000-yard stare. They didn't know her by her real name, didn't know her record, didn't know that within the classified levels of the ORCA-9 Directive, she wasn't a soldier. She was a solution. Kaela adjusted the windage dial on her custom Brimstone V9 Longstrike, a 60 Talon caliber anti-materiel platform that had never been mass-produced. Lying prone beneath a mesh cloak patterned for volcanic shale, her breath matched the stillness of the terrain. 247 yards ahead, perched on a jagged cliff face, stood the ancient war fortress known as Bastion Orlan. Inside that stone husk, something was happening. Thermal imaging from overhead recon had picked up 3 distinct heat signatures. Top floor, unconfirmed, but it matched the movement patterns of the Velmoran Rebellion's high command. Today's mission was simple: observe and report. No engagement. Commander Core, a SEAL with 16 years in deep action recon, wasn't thrilled about having an army sniper embedded with his team. Ghost Viper ran tight, quiet. And the moment Kaela stepped onto their drop chopper, she threw off the rhythm. He'd protested, but when orders came signed by Fleet Admiral Vance Grayler, the argument ended. She's not a guest, the Admiral had said. She's the asset. Still, to the rest of the Team Core, Chief Asher Drail, and the 6 Ghost Vipers spread across the rocks, Kaela seemed unnecessary. Overwatch, maybe. But the girl barely spoke. Didn't boast, didn't brief, just sat down, unpacked the Longstrike, and started scanning. She hadn't blinked in nearly 6 minutes. Her left glove tapped a small meteorological reader clipped to the rifle's side. The wind was steady 12 miles northwest. Humidity 31%. Elevation over 4,100 feet. Perfect data for theory. Useless for most snipers, not for Kaela. Through her custom optics non-standard, unauthorized, and almost certainly hand-built. Kaela watched the top floor of Bastion Orlan with surgical focus. The rebels hadn't posted air defense. Amateur mistake. They didn't expect eyes from this range. They didn't know what was watching them. Commander Core moved to her position, low-crawling across the shale. He leaned beside her, voice barely above the breeze. You've got eyes on their top floor. Kaela's response came in 2 clipped words. Thermals active. She didn't volunteer anything else. Core tried again. What's your assessment? Kaela didn't move. Didn't blink. Only spoke after 10 full seconds of silence. 3 hostiles. Top window. Stationary. Likely command tier. Can you confirm ID negative? But their posture is strategic, not patrol. Core adjusted his own scope, tried to catch a glimpse. Nothing but shadows and flickers of heat bloom through stone and haze. That range, it's ridiculous, he muttered. No one can make that shot. Kaela didn't respond. She was already calculating wind shear at altitude, and in her head. Numbers weren't theoretical. They were coordinates, and death followed coordinates. Across the comms, Chief Drail called out, "We've got movement. Window north. 3 targets. Looks like damn it's them." Kaela didn't react. She'd seen them first. She'd been tracking their heat signatures for the last 7 minutes. And unlike the SEALs, she wasn't here to observe. She was here to do what no one else could. And she had just decided she would. Confirming visual 3 command-level hostiles. Top floor, window cluster west. Kaela's voice cut across the comms like a scalpel sharp. Measured, certain. Commander Core froze mid-crawl. Say again, all 3. Standing, exposed. Core squinted through his high-powered scope. 3 silhouettes, barely visible beyond layers of dust-smeared glass and ancient stone. But Kaela had seen them long before he did. For a second, silence gripped the channel. Then Chief Drayle, posted on the flank, whispered Core, "If that's who I think it is. We're looking at the entire Triad Council. Marshal Al-Roon, General Norel, Cypher Marshal Drav, 3 men responsible for 6 years of war across Velmara. If this intel was real, this wasn't a recon op anymore. It was a war-ending opportunity." "Commander," Drayle continued. Tension rising. "Joint Strategic Office wants evaluation. If strike is viable, clearance is priority alpha." Core exhaled slowly. That was the kind of clearance that didn't come from command chains. That came from Greylor himself. "We move closer, they'll see us," he muttered. "And even if we don't, 200 yards is out of reach." He glanced sideways at Kaela. She hadn't moved an inch, just made another small adjustment to her windage dial. He tapped his earpiece. "Requesting strike assessment. Sergeant Renner, you've got the best angle." "Nothing. 5 seconds, 10, then, softly, range 247 yards. Target drift minor, density drop measurable, assessment, all 3 targets can be eliminated." Core blinked. "Renner, you understand the conditions, wind, angle, bullet drop." "Yes, sir, this isn't Call of Duty." "Sergeant, understood." But she wasn't bluffing, she was building a solution. Core crawled closer. "You realize no one on my team would take that shot. It's a 1 in a million kill, 3 times over." Kaela opened a weatherproof pouch and slid out a slim, dark notebook, leather-bound, creased from use. She handed it to him without a word. He opened it. Pages of equations, atmospheric breakdowns, trajectory arcs, thermal layers mapped against bullet velocity, wind vectors across different altitudes. This wasn't a sniper log. It was advanced physics. "What? Is this every confirmed shot over 1,000 yards? Recorded, adjusted, recalculated. Some of this math isn't even in the manual. It's not from the manual." "Sir!" The comms cracked again. "Triad Council confirmed. Command wants green light if feasible. Your go to engage if confident." Core didn't answer immediately. His eyes flicked to the top of the notebook. Classified. ORCA-9 Black Tier. He looked up. "What the hell is ORCA-9? Kaela didn't answer. She just stared back through her scope. In truth, ORCA-9 wasn't a unit. It was a proof-of-concept program. A single project. Can you train someone to bend the math of modern warfare? Kaela Renner wasn't issued to the battlefield. She was unleashed onto it when the laws of probability needed to be broken. Core sat back, stunned. He'd worked with CIA paramilitaries, ghost operators, SEAL snipers from every combat theater. But he'd never seen someone like her. If you miss even one shot, this whole mission collapses. Extraction risk triples. They'll know we're here. Understood? No backup, no record. You're alone up here." Kaela slowly chambered the first round. "Sir," she said calmly, "I've always been alone." Commander Core stared at her for one long breath, then tapped his mic. "Command Ghost Viper authorizes Black Tier shot, engaging momentarily." "That's not confidence," Commander Core said under his breath. "That's mathematical delusion." Kaela didn't blink. She adjusted the scope 0.5 millimeter. Not by guess, by formula. At 247 yards, there was no margin. There was only truth and calculation. Core leaned over her notebook again. Gyroscopic drift, thermal lift, angular compensation across elevation differentials. This wasn't sniper math. This was aerospace ballistics. "You're treating this like an orbital launch." Kaela's voice was calm. "Because the bullet behaves like one. At this range, it's not a straight line, it's a ballistic arc, flight, not fire." Drayle cut in on comms, "Commander. Do we delay or green light Core?" Hesitated. He looked at Kaela's face, not emotionless, not cocky, just still, like the eye of a physics storm. "You sure you can thread all 3? Kaela whispered. "Not thread. Stitch." She thumbed a switch on her scope, activating Vortex Overlay, a prototype interface that visualized wind columns in real time. Data fed from high-altitude drones Kaela had personally programmed during her ORCA-9 years. Each color-coded ripple across her view told a story. Pressure here, drift there, silence between chaos. Her left hand began calculating by reflex temperature, 82-degree humidity, 31% air pressure, 29.91 in Hg altitude, 412 feet rotation drift, 6.4 inches right. Coriolis effect 17.9 inches westward, over 2.4 seconds of flight. She was painting a bullet's future. My best shooter wouldn't even try this. Core muttered. Kaela didn't turn. That's because your shooter was trained for effective range. I wasn't trained for range, I was trained for inevitability. The team's radio fell quiet. Even Chief Drayle said nothing. No one dared interrupt her final ritual. Kaela inhaled slowly, exhaled half. Heart rate 48 BPM, body motion null. Her pulse no longer reached her trigger finger. This wasn't training, this was control. Cell by cell, through the scope. The three rebel generals were still visible, talking over illuminated maps near the north window. Marshal Al-Roon, Tavik Norel, Yelin Drav, each responsible for entire battalions of suffering. None of them knew what arc of fate now tracked toward them. Final check, Core said. Kaela didn't move. Target 1 window left, distance locked, wind drifting east. Tier 3 layer cuts cross-current at 800 feet. Already compensated. Renner, sir, you hit even 2, I'll rewrite every damn doctrine manual we've got. Kaela smiled faintly, then clear a few pages. She flicked the safety off. Breath half in, finger staged. Her mind didn't fire. Her math did. The Brimstone V9 bucked once an eruption of 60 Talon fury that echoed through stone valleys like judgment itself. But Kaela didn't hear it. Her eye never left the scope. She was already tracking the bullet. Flight time 2.42 seconds. Drop 421 inches. Drift 19.3 inches lateral. Through glass, dust, and distance impact. Marshal Al-Roon fell back, dead before his brain understood the sound. Kaela adjusted a hair's width. Second target. General Norel had turned instinctively. Mistake. She fired again. Flight time 2.4 seconds. Target profile perfect. Second kill. No time to breathe. Cypher Marshal Drab was already stepping sideways, fading into the shadows. But Kaela didn't aim at where he was. She aimed at where physics said he must be. Last shot. Hardest. She fired and whispered. 3. Impact confirmed. Marshal Al-Roon's body crumpled backward through the fractured stone frame. One of the most feared military architects in Velmara's civil war. Gone. Not a sound from Kaela. No celebration. Just recalibration. Through her scope. She watched as General Tavik Norel pivoted sharply toward the sudden collapse of his comrade, his face twisted in confusion. Not fear. He didn't realize yet that physics had already scheduled his death. Shot 2. Another eruption. Another flight path traced in her mind like a golden thread on black silk. Commander Core's eyes were locked into his own spotting scope now, confirming second weight. He's still no. That's fall momentum. He's down. He's down. The control Kaela exerted wasn't just over the rifle. It was over time. She was firing between seconds, inside pressure curves, beneath the pulse of Earth's own spin. Now only one remained, Cypher Marshal Drav. He didn't freeze, didn't scream. He ran, smart. But not fast enough. Kaela tracked him through fogged glass and blurred reflection. Her eyes weren't reading a man. They were reading velocity, direction, refraction. She didn't just fire. She led the future. A millimeter ahead of where he'd be in 2.39 seconds. A wind drift push to the east. An altitude flex at the window's apex. Shot 3, the hardest and the cleanest. The moment it landed. The silence in the Seal Ghost Viper comms wasn't disbelief. It was reverence. 3, Chief Drayle whispered. 3 for 3. Commander Core looked up from his scope. Jaw tight. Face pale. You just collapsed an entire regime with a 12-second firing window. Kaela was already breaking down her long strike, no wasted movement. No adrenaline, just process and protocol. Confirm all 3 targets eliminated. She said into comms, recommend immediate withdrawal, extraction point Alpha, far across the ravine. Alarms began to scream. Searchlights ignited across Bastion Orlan's upper tiers. Too late. The fortress was panicking, but the ghosts had already vanished. Kaela zipped the last strap of her rifle case and looked up as Kor crouched beside her. His voice had dropped. You understand what you just did? She met his gaze. Yes. Sir, I ended the meeting. No. You ended the war's brain. He didn't say it with awe. He said it with fear, because he knew what it meant that somewhere, someone designed her, and maybe there were others. As Ghost Viper began their extraction across shale and shadow, Chief Drail whispered to Kor on private channel, we'll never file this. Right, no. Kor said, this op didn't happen. Kaela moved ahead, silent as always, but for the first time, Kor noticed the smallest thing on the back of her scope. Etched by hand, not a name, not a serial number, just a single phrase, velocity is only the beginning. 3 bullets, 3 bodies, no trace. No claim, and no evidence it had ever happened. Ghost Viper was already halfway down the Shadecar ravine when the first enemy choppers screamed overhead too late. The Triad Council was gone. So was their war. Sergeant Kaela Renner walked in silence. Rifle secured, profile low, not triumphant, not shaken, just exactly as expected, like math playing out. Commander Kor caught up with her near the extraction perimeter, a rare pause before the evac. Renner. She turned, half-shadowed in the moonlight. I need to ask, off record. She waited. Who trained you? She gave a small, unreadable smile. Physics did. War just gave it a reason. Kor shook his head. No, that was surgical, calculated. You stitched 3 shots across 2 1/4 clicks like it was nothing. Kaela locked eyes with him. It was never nothing. You just didn't see the math. Across Velmara, enemy resistance collapsed within days. Without command structure, rebel forces fractured into isolated cells by the 3rd week. The Civil War ended not with a treaty, but with silence. And in that silence, no medals were given, no names were listed. The official mission report read, observation only. No engagement occurred. Kaela's personnel file remained untouched, still listed as Army Sniper, recon support, standard qualifications, no exceptional notations. But in one locked archive deep inside ORCA-9's Black Tier database, 3 coordinates were recorded. 3 wind profiles, 3 bullet paths, and a single classification stamp impact world stage shift, Kor weeks later. Standing before an elite SEAL sniper training unit, said only this, you think range is your limit? That's cute. I once watched a girl bend the Earth's curve to touch a man's temple 3 times in 12 seconds. They didn't believe him. And that was the point. Kaela never resurfaced on any official op. But rumors spread like smoke in closed briefings. The one who could kill from beyond doctrine. Whispers called her the Velocity Ghost. Years later, when a high-value target vanished mid-meeting at 300 yards, when a drone picked up an empty firing position near the roving plateau with not even a footprint left behind, one analyst asked aloud, could it be her? The room fell quiet. Then someone answered, Hershey doesn't exist. And they were right. On paper, Kaela Renner was never there. No one pulled the trigger, no bullet flew. But on 3 different walls in Bastion Orlan, 3 cracks remain, precise, perfect, aligned, as if someone had drawn a straight line through a kingdom and erased its future. She didn't do it for medals, didn't do it for glory, didn't even do it to be remembered. She did it because someone said no one can make that shot, and Kaela Renner was never no one. She was the reason the impossible became inevitable. She didn't do it for medals, didn't do it for glory, didn't even do it to be remembered. She did it because someone said no one can make that shot, and Kaela Renner was never no one. She was the reason the impossible became inevitable.